All right, welcome everybody to the RebelLUG Roundtable. We have many guests here today. We have Drew, Packer221. Over on the other side of the table, we have Micah, and then we have Lego Spencer. Micah, we had this conversation earlier. What is your Flickr handle? You seem to have two Flickrs here.
My primary Flickr handle has some bricks or Micah Byman. I have another Flickr account that's for like other builds that aren't as good, but that's not important.
Okay. All right.
Get in the comments for a free internet cookie.
So, Spencer, do you want to explain why we're all together here today?
Yeah, so we're here at Danny's crib sorting lug bulk. This is basically a giant collective order of a bunch of people in the lug. So, somebody help me out here.
I think there was 18 of us.
23.
I didn't actually participate.
23, close enough.
I didn't actually participate, so I don't really know much of the deets here, Danny. I ain't gonna lie to you. But yeah, we all collectively come together. This is a program that LEGO does for all the recognized communities every year. All these participating members come together and select like 80 some pieces from a giant list, and then we're able to order whatever quantities we want of those pieces at a super reduced cost. However, when it arrives, it comes in giant bags of each piece comes in its own bag. So we got to figure out when H2 Brick orders 1,347 out of a bag that has 10,000 pieces. Somebody has to count all of those, and that's me. So we got a lot of
Spencer,
problems.
you mentioned that you did not participate in lug bulk. Why did you come sort? Where are you from? How did you get here, and why did you sort?
Well, really, the biggest reason is that I was just really bored and lonely at home. No. Well, it just seemed like a fun way to hang out for like a couple weeks, I guess, because I've been here for like almost 2 weeks now. And yeah, support my lug. And I had like basically some free flights to work with. So this has been a pretty fun trip where I've spent a collective like $18 so far doing the exact same stuff I would have been doing back in California.
There you go. And Micah, why are you here?
I'm here because the lug bulk got sent to my house. Because initially I was supposed to take it to Brick World, but then Brick World got canceled. And then I was supposed to take it to Brick Fair, but then Brick Fair got canceled. And so it's been sitting in my house since May. And really, I built one mock with some of the parts, and I sorted a little bit of it myself. But it didn't seem practical for me to do all the sorting myself. It probably would have taken about 140 hours, and I didn't feel like putting that much time into it. So I sorted some of it myself, a little bit with my family, and then I brought the rest here for these guys to help finish sorting.
Beautiful, beautiful. And Drew, well, you kind of got conscripted.
Yeah, you hit me up like 2 days ago.
I was like, hey, we need you. Please come.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that. So thank you to all of you guys for coming sort. It was a lot of fun because we kind of reminisced while we were sorting about different things and stuff that have happened over the year with RebelLUG. So I thought it'd be cool if we started off kind of sharing maybe our favorite memory from this past year of 2020. I know it was a crazy year for everything else in life, but I feel like RebelLUG itself had a really good year. So if you guys want to think about your favorite memories, Micah, you look like you got one. You got one ready to go.
I got a couple.
Go for it.
It's hard to even think about what was this year and what wasn't, because Shirtless Woody, I think. I think technically it might have started at the end of 2019. I'm not 100% sure, but it definitely grew and evolved during 2020, especially when
For
we
our
added
viewers who don't know
Joe.
what that is, can you elaborate?
Yeah, so in the Fall Whips chat at one point, I don't remember who it was, but a user posted a work in progress picture for one of their builds, and he just randomly had Shirtless Woody in there. And then he posted another work in progress picture later, and Shirtless Woody wasn't there anymore. So there's some questions like, what happened? Why isn't Shirtless Woody here anymore? What's going on? And it kind of just blew up from there. He embraced Shirtless Woody. I embraced Shirtless Woody. Simon embraced Shirtless Woody. Joe, who we later on added to RebelLUG, built a 1.5 tall Shirtless Woody out of bricks. So it's really escalated in a really beautiful way. I think Noah has something like 40 Shirtless Woody figures. I don't know.
I think he bought all the ones off Bricklink to the point where it is now a hot commodity on Bricklink to be able to find a Woody head because he bought all of them.
So yeah, that's a highlight. And then another highlight, I think, as far as like more realistically speaking, Vin Week this year I think went really well. That was something we started last year, but this year I think it grew. And like there's a lot of downsides to the pandemic, but I think a lot of people actually had more time to build, and they were able to compete in Vin Week more this year.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Drew, you got anything?
I don't remember much that happened this year, mainly because all the conventions got canceled. But I think the fall hangout in general is a pretty good highlight.
What's your favorite part about the fall hangout?
The falls themselves, always.
How often have you gone to Fall Friday?
Maybe like once or twice.
Out of how many Fridays are there in a year?
52? Is that how many
Sure.
weeks? Yeah, sure. But we recently expanded the fall hangout too, for more channels and stuff. So there can be, I guess, more like specific interactions with those and stuff. And I think it's going pretty smoothly. But yeah, if you're not in the fall hangout already, you can go to our website and click on the Discord icon there, and you can join.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Spencer, you were one of the architects of expanding the fall hangout. Any thoughts there? What goes into the mind of the great architect behind the fall hangout?
It's really a matter of psychological manipulation when it comes to the falls. That's really my primary concern is, like I really look to people like Mark Zuckerberg when I think about growing the fall hangout. How do we make people addicted to this environment? So far, it hasn't been working out very well. I don't know why people hang out there.
Minecraft server.
No. Really, I think like as far as Discord servers go, it's sort of something you have to grow. You have to grow and change like linearly. So like when we started it, there was only maybe one. There was only the one chat. Maybe there was. I think we added the whips afterwards, which made two, and it stayed like that for a long period of time. I think some people didn't like it, and more people kind of liked the fact that it was very, very, very simple. And as we sort of basically reached the threshold of having that many people in that size server, expanded a little bit. A little while later, expanded a little bit again. So that's really been the thought process about it. I guess like sort of a very, very recent highlight when it comes to the fall hangout has been this 253rd collaboration.
For sure.
This is something like that. I hope we can collaborate more again in the future, because I think that the RPG thing is really, really, really cool. And 253rd is, I think, probably the oldest standing RPG, and it seems like the two key people that lead and write stuff for the group, I know there's other people as well, are members of RebelLUG. So I'm hoping that we can continue to work again in the future. But yeah, the 253rd public event is going on right now in the fall hangout until the end of February, I think. Yeah, that's right.
That's correct. End of February.
And I guess my other highlight somebody mentioned is probably the website. That was kind of one of my projects for this year, was redoing the RebelLUG website, and still really like how it came out. Or it's just use it's not in a completely finished state, I guess, but I like it much more than the old one, especially on the phone. Danny, now it's your turn. Now that we've taken up all the good ones,
Yes.
you really put yourself in a good position here.
I've saved mine. I didn't think any of you would touch on it. The instruction store.
I saved it for you because I knew
Thank you.
needed this life.
Thank you for the
saver.
lifeline. No, the instruction store was a big undertaking. I was looking back at some of our older material from last year. I realized that January 1st of 2020 was in fact the first day that the instruction store opened. It was open for January, and then for the whole year. So this is our first full year of the instruction store. And Spencer helped a lot with it. And I don't know how many models we have, 23, 24, 25, somewhere in the mid-20s. Models, but it's just really cool having the opportunity for these builders to be able to kind of start getting money back for their builds. The Lego hobby is very expensive, as we all know, and oftentimes we build these incredible models and we bring them to shows and stuff, but it ends there. But to be able to make instructions for, first of all, for other people to be able to build them, to display them in their house, but also to learn these different techniques is really cool. But also for the builders, to be like, oh, like this is actually feasible. I can create more builds now with this kind of new little revenue stream. So it's just cool to be able to see people to do that, especially with Nick Brick's Nintendo Blaster things. Those are sick. And Spencer's Gunship. Those are
Nick's probably been the
so.
biggest benefactor here. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
he's utilized the store the most. But I'm really, like any opportunity to, I guess, like create more value for members is something that's really
Exactly.
Really
That's always
important.
something we're looking for is like how, like we run all these contests and stuff for the public, but how can we benefit our members the most? And that was a big thing this year. I felt that we accomplished.
Because the way that the store works, that I kind of like really, it was like, okay, so there's like a couple other places you can sell instructions. The way we want to do it is like this is undoubtedly like the best option for these people. So they can choose to take 100% of the proceeds. There's no take from RebelLUG. I mean, optionally give some amount to RebelLUG or give some to Creations for Charity when we want to run these events. And then I think also like as far as having like a very kind of curated instruction store, a lot of extra value comes from that in like members benefiting from each other. Like you have a feedback loop that exists between like
For sure.
one talented builder having their instructions there and another one and having them kind of densely consolidated.
Yeah, we would even see, like, we would try to advertise whenever we added instruction to the store, and we would see people come from Instagram seeing those ads, and then coming to the store and then buying a different instruction. So it was cool seeing, as you mentioned, that feedback loop. But another thing you mentioned, the Creations for Charities, like, I love having these opportunities to give back, and that every year at Brickworld, we've always done the Feed My Serving Children, which is like the food bank thing, and then this year we had the opportunity to use the instruction store for some good. We raised over $300 for Creations for Charity through members just donating the profits on their build. So that was awesome. That was really cool that we had those opportunities. So that was my favorite part of the year. Yeah, we did so much. I want to touch on collabs because that was something none of us mentioned.
Oh yeah, we should have mentioned
Who here participated in a collab? We had two. We had the Cyberpunk and we had the Blaster collab.
I did Blaster.
It was just you.
I
Right?
didn't do.
We're all failures.
All right,
here.
well, I guess I'm the most qualified to talk on. No. I mean, there's not really much to say besides I think that this has been, like, we're really gonna, trying to think of a polite word to describe what we're doing right now in regards to RebelLUG, but we're really patting ourselves on the back here. But this has definitely been such a, like, in terms of, okay, so let me give you the perspective of, like, a 2017 Spencer when a new collab was coming up. It was, like, extremely stressful because there's, like, with a lot of work, there's still a good chance that this is going to blow up in our face and we're going to look like fools or we're going to look really dumb. These two collabs were, like, extremely smooth. And I basically realized that, like, we have a foolproof A1 team at RebelLUG where you can, like, if a cool idea comes along, there's 100% probability that everybody's going to bring really high quality work to the table and, you know, try to fall. They all also want to, like, fall into whatever pattern the collab is following into. Like, we've sort of it's like a really, I guess, mature stage for the LUG. Much lower stress than it's ever been before. You guys got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got more talented builders now, and I think in general probably just older members, which is helpful, and just more experience as far as people who have been in the community longer. The members who we had 3 years ago, if we still have them, obviously they have 3 years more experience and whatnot. But yeah, I would agree that I think both of them went very smoothly, and I think it was also good that it was like we were able to work well with them being online collabs and not like in person, because initially we had in-person collabs planned for this year that ended up falling through because we didn't have Brickworld and whatnot. And so have these as substitutes and just quickly like figure them out and figure out what we're going to do. I think that worked really well.
And something I want to add is it seems like there's like a direct correlation between the quality of a collab and the people that are behind it. I think my mic fell down at some point, but it seems like as long as there's one or two people who are like decently passionate about the actual thing going on. We saw that with like Les Ropes at Brickworld, but like with the gun collab, I know Nick himself brought it up as something he wanted to do and something he was going to be behind the whole time. And he was able to, you know, help everybody out and have the vision and keep everyone in check. I'm not super familiar with the Cyberpunk collab, but I just know like that one was a good example of that.
yeah, okay. Here's the secret ingredient. It appears to. All right, what are they're getting?
We're fixing the mic here. I don't think it ever
Technical
got
difficulties.
tightened back up.
Not strong enough. That lug bulk sorting gave him arthritis.
It did.
Yeah, you gotta go. You gotta push hard, man. Go for it. There you go.
We're good.
That
All right,
should be better.
sweet.
Cool.
Okay. The simple secret ingredient to running a successful collab is not a
crime.
good idea. A good idea is requisite in a way, but what is far more important is having like an organizer who thinks this is a really cool idea. Everybody else will jump on board if the organizer is really, really passionate and ready to work twice as hard as the next person on the collab. That's really the simple key to how it works, because people want to participate in collabs and they'll compromise on whatever their ideas are. I've seen people like deliberate for forever on what the compromised idea is, what everybody will be happy to do in terms of a collab. Compromises are not a good thing. You need somebody who is headstrong and knows exactly what they want, and that's the people that people want to get behind when it comes to collabs.
Yeah, and that's something we definitely struggled with in the past. I think the best example of that was the Thrawn collab.
I don't
By far the worst RebelLUG collab ever.
I don't even know if that's true. It's just like the first few were just like we were really catching our stride, but like none of them were solid. I don't want to give one more credit over the other at that point.
I'm focusing on Thrawn is because I think it was maybe Daniel's idea first, but anyways, no one wanted to like do it, but I was like, oh, we gotta do a collab, it's collab season, let's do a collab. So I read the book, and then I put together like a brief, like broke out like, okay, these are like the builds we can do for it. And then I like posted the doc, and then we kind of went off there. But there was never like a figurehead. Like I did that part, and then a few other people helped out in other areas. But it wasn't like someone leading this collab as a strong head of like really passionate about Thrawn. It was just like a bunch of people who had read the book or were familiar with the character.
Didn't read the book.
Yeah, probably didn't read the book. Probably read the Spark Notes online, right? Or watched like a 20-minute YouTube video about it. And so that's where I think Lastropes really showed the way with you and Everett leading that, Spencer. And then this year we had no issue with that with Nick doing the gun collab, and then Simon leading the Cyberpunk. It was a piece of cake. It looked like walk in the park.
I think something nice about the collabs this year too is they weren't real restricted. Like it was like the general theme of Cyberpunk, the general theme of brick built guns, but like we didn't have specific scenes. It's like, okay, you build this and you build this and you build this. It was like, yeah, you can build whatever you want as long as it's Cyberpunk. And there's like a couple little restrictions here or there, but like in general, it was very open-ended.
Yeah, and I really, one of my favorite parts about the gun collab was that every week Nick would take the time we would post our whips in the Discord server, and he would take the time to post those on Instagram and showing like tutorials of how to build like the trigger and the different mechanisms and guns, which I think a lot of people found helpful, and that was something unique that we've never done before with the collab, because normally it's just the finished product. But yeah, I feel like this is enough of Rebel. Again, I wanted this whole podcast to be us just pat ourselves on the back like, oh man, great job everybody. What do you guys think about the Lego community this year? What were your favorite moments in the community? Obviously, we didn't have conventions this year, so it's a little different. I don't know if you guys went to the virtual ones. I did not, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a no all the way around the board. But were there any moments that stood out in the community as a whole, or some new program that Lego initiated? They're like, oh, this is awesome. I can't wait for this.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me is the 501st Battle Pack release. I feel like that was 2 years in the making, maybe more than that. Of constant pestering from Lego fans on Lego's page, but obviously they finally gave in, and I feel like that was a big deal in the fact of Lego, I guess, listening to their fans of what they actually want, and obviously, hopefully, that's like a good business decision on their end too. But just the fact that they would, take those opinions into account in something besides like Lego ideas, which is obviously a lot more formulated than that. And then obviously it paid off because I couldn't get my hands on one until like 2 months after it released or something like that. So, hopefully on their end, they're seeing that was a good decision to go through with that.
According to, there's no metrics on how well Lego sets sell unless you like are either an exec at Lego or an exec at like Target or something, right? But Brickset has a little article on what were the most like which sets the most people own from 2020. Fire Force Battle Pack was pretty high ranking. I think the highest though was like the Mando Battle Pack.
Yeah, that one was
That was a
sold
big
out for
deal.
long
Yeah, I
time,
remember
too.
that.
But the point is, a lot of people bought it. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I don't know if I buy into this whole like. I see a lot of people that are really, really upset online at Lego. That Lego like intentionally thought that they were making a failing product just to like appease Instagram commenters, so they made very few of them, and then like, look at you, were so wrong about us. I think it's just like
Gamers
it
rise
seems like
up.
I bet supply lines just across the board were completely destroyed. Because I mean, like for many obvious reasons, especially around like the very beginning of 2020, all manufacturing came to a complete halt. But yeah, that's a good highlight of our first Battle Pack.
The first thing that came to mind for me was Lego bought Bricklink
Oh, yeah.
2020, right?
Yeah.
Kind of big.
Yeah, there's some hot takes there. I think we talked about this in a past
We talked
Roundtable
about the
episode.
Roundtable,
Yeah. I don't know.
Hasn't gone belly up yet.
Yeah, I haven't really used Bricklink. I've used Bricklink once, I think, since they bought Bricklink. That shows you how much I built. And I bought it. I used it to buy torsos for RebelLUG. So, for those of you who use Bricklink more, have you really seen? Has it been the big impact that everyone was freaking out about? Of like, oh my gosh, the third party market is ruined now that Lego owns it.
Not yet, but I still think that will remain to be seen. There have been changes, and it seems like I'm subscribed to the Bricklink YouTube channel for some reason. So I saw this video that had like 30 views in my subscriptions from them. And it was like their CEO or whatever talking on a webcam about their new direction or something. Not necessarily a new direction, but definitely definitely some sort of shift. It was a lot of just business talk, big
Sure.
meaningless jargon and stuff. But it seems like there's possibly definitely some influence going on. I mean, like there were definitely a few things that I can't recall all of. Like some sets were the Osprey was not listed on Bricklink, which is
Yes.
not action that a Bricklink would have taken. Yeah, that was like pretty. That it like you're throwing inconsistencies into the record of what actually did happen in terms of like product releases. Which makes Bricklink unreliable in terms of like an actual record of what was released. Colors were being changed, which it doesn't really bother me. I mean, that's just names on the same variables. Is there any other one? There's like all the like Chrome brick resellers have been forced off the site. That's one of them, which not really I get that one, I suppose. The other one was there's one more that I was thinking of. None of them are too big of a
Like
deal.
the
but this is a very
third
gradual
party
trend.
people got kicked off.
Yeah,
right?
and like I know like
the taxes
like
one.
Aerialite Customs, they're based over in Asia somewhere, and in Taiwan, and they had their American reseller was through Bricklink, and they're gone now basically. So there's no easy way for someone in the U.S. to get Aerialite now. Same with Cape Madness, they make custom capes or whatever. I think they were one of the first ones to do that. They were based on Bricklink too, and they're not on there anymore. So those were two significant ones that like I literally found it as like an inconvenience because I wanted those products and then I couldn't go and buy them.
I bought Chrome pieces this year just after the Bricklink transition, and the Chrome Block City was the store. They're traditionally based on Bricklink, and they like very quickly put together a rudimentary site to take over their operations. I don't know if it's going to disrupt like their revenue streams really, because there's probably not really a lot of discoverability for these niche products.
Yeah.
It's just like the storefront infrastructure that makes it very convenient. So I don't think it'll be that big of a disruption. Like it'll be inconvenient, but it's not game changing necessarily. I'm curious about, I mean, like what, are there any changes that it seems like that are in the realm of what they might do, I guess is what would one think about? Because this is not something that they would shift immediately. This is...
Yeah, I mean, you brought up the Technic Osprey, and I think that I mean, it got a lot of blowback when it happened, but I feel like that was the most controversial thing that happened in terms of this whole thing. Because the second Lego goes in and starts, because I use Bricklink as like just like a history catalog, not even if I'm not shopping for something, I'm like, oh, what existed, what colors, what sets, all this kind of stuff. And to remove something from like a historical record, which is how I would view it, is like very dangerous. I feel like that's a power that should not be used.
By the
Yeah,
Lego group.
yeah, like that for me was just a huge, like, what is going on here? But and I feel like if they continue a pattern of that, of like picking and choosing what they want available on there, that could lead to a lot of issues.
Are you guys allowed to sell like the ambassador gifts and the employee gifts?
Oh,
Is that
no,
something?
no, not at all.
Those
So-
have been on there before.
Yeah. So is that still listed?
Yeah,
Do you know
that's a
that?
good point. Yeah,
just
if you're allowed
research.
to. Yeah, I have mine in the room behind me. I haven't built it yet. This year was the Lego education theme. But yeah, no, that's a good question. If there's sets that aren't supposed to be sold, but people decide to.
Yeah, I was thinking about non-production parts too.
Yeah.
Protos.
Oh, the ones that
Protos.
like the rogue workers will make like the Darth Vader helmets and
yeah, and like the
10
different
different
trans figures and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, I think. Because I think those should be for sale. They're just incredibly rare and should be
Yeah.
expensive. Just because I
But
can't
then-
buy them on bricks and pieces.
yeah, but at the
Doesn't-
same time, it wasn't authorized. Like I guess their production wasn't authorized by Lego themselves, but I don't know. Do they just have like a complete catalog of everything they ever made, and they realize, oh,
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
not our
this just all comes with
piece.
the whole concept of a company buying the third party market for that company,
Yeah.
like the possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm thinking is like if Lego introduces enough, like Lego could just take enough actions that makes it basically unusable for like enough people that a new thing has to be created, which,
I feel like that's not really gonna happen though. Like I feel like all these in general are relatively minor things. Like
Yeah.
most people just go on Bricklink
Like, big
to
picture.
buy parts that
from sets.
yeah from sets that are rarely available. So like in most situations, I don't think it's gonna be a big enough deal.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
And I think there's a lot of bonuses that can come with it. I don't know if this is a feature yet, but it wasn't for the longest time to be able to share wanted lists. Have they had that yet? It's something that
I'm not
has been talked about for the longest time of like, I want to make a wanted list and be able to share this publicly with people. And I feel like a lot of these like little features and stuff, Lego as a large company with a large tech department is able to add these features more easily than Bricklink would.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of work in progress stuff on the version 2 of the Bricklink website. And it seems like, honestly, right now, they're sort of not really sure which way to pivot, especially when you go watch the video that I was talking about. Like, it almost sounded like they were alluding to, like, making a social media of some kind on the site or, like, a more advanced forum. They already have a forum on there, but it's really just for sellers. I think Lego is maybe taking their third or fourth stab at creating it doesn't work. You can't do that. Like, Google has failed at making a social media multiple times because you can't synthesize cool. And that's the core part of a social media is it being cool and people wanting to be there. You can't just you don't need a lot of reach. You need people to want to use
cool
it.
factor. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, you can kind of share wanted lists, but that's how we do it on the Bricklinks on the store, on the instruction store. But it's very inconvenient.
Yeah, I know another thing about Bricklink. I know a while back they did those sets that were produced by Bricklink
Oh,
themselves.
the
They
AFOL designer program.
Yeah, and I know what they're doing now. They're turning failed ideas projects into some of those sets. I don't know anything more about it than that, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
They're definitely doing more of those, which is pretty cool. Because I mean, that plays into Lego. It seems like Lego's key hand this year in terms of sets is like more adult sets, with like increasingly less like we get further and further from like the very distinct toy Lego like aesthetic of a set, more 18 plus sets, and that's exactly what those are going to be. Those are for like adult fans.
Yeah.
Which I actually don't really know if I like this direction that Lego's
The adult stuff,
taking.
because we saw the
Yeah.
Coliseum, we saw the NES, we saw the bonsai tree. Yeah,
Just a lot of these things that are like very much just like display items.
Yeah. Well, I know another thing with it is like the new Winter Village set. They branded that as an adult one, and they had it in the black box and had like 18 plus. When obviously like a 10-year-old could build it and have fun with it. And if anything, I feel like that's just deterring them from that kind of thing. I don't know if an adult would see it packaged differently and be like, oh, this isn't for me or something.
See, I feel like that has to be like a really strong marketing decision though. Like that
Oh,
they
yeah.
had a lot of like evidence to be like, okay, all the people buying this are like adults who are displaying this. So let's market it like that and see if
Yeah.
that bump. Like I don't think they're just like, oh, let's just try it out for fun.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, like all of these like business graduates, you know, the ones with the what do you call them, the whatever the
MBAs.
case. Yeah, all these MBAs working up in the executive offices of Lego. Like you can use math to like prove something, but that doesn't really. That often does not prove anything. Lego has had plenty of fumbles in the past, and I think this is effectively a gamble, very much so. And it's honestly like kind of looking at it, I think it's because a lot comes with making like an adult line of model toys that have huge implications for like the entire brand of Lego as being like this, as being a children's toy, which could disrupt it in ways that I don't think we can see yet.
Yeah.
I believe the Sesame Street set was marketed as 18 plus as well.
Yeah,
which was
that's
kind of surprising to me.
interesting.
Really?
That is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, the only people I've seen buy it are like nostalgia.
Yeah, but I guess you don't.
people.
You
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
normally
I don't
see
even know
kids
if
who are buying
is Sesame
anything
Street even on
either.
TV anymore. I don't know, but like it's still
It
it
might
feels like
be.
it didn't look like that hard to build. It feels like something kids could
Mm-hmm.
play with. I think there were some play features to it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
That one's a weird one.
And I feel like if your goal is nostalgia, like as an adult, if they had marketed it towards kids, they'd probably buy it either way. Because I feel like at that point you don't care about the way it's
Yeah.
being packed. But I was at Barnes and Noble a while back, and they had an entire different section separate from their Lego aisle with like the adult sets.
Really?
And it was this little kiosk, and it said something like, you know, this is your escape from the stressors of life or something like that. And it had all the Star Wars busts and the architecture sets and whatnot.
The
So
bus, that's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything with the cool boxes. They got way classier boxes.
Oh
on
yeah,
the
I
adult
opened
sets.
up the Boba Fett helmet for Christmas, and my dad immediately commented on the box how he thought it was, you know, strange or different.
Yeah, another one, the mosaics. We just opened those the other day, and that had the whole fancy box, like the thicker cardboard, the nicer instructions.
I wonder if this will be a trend like Walmart, Target. Will they start taking some of the adult sets, taking them out of the toy section, putting them on
That would be
places?
fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not really.
Is there like a?
I don't know where you
section
would put them.
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
You probably put them over near like the. You probably move them to like the books and stuff section of like
Yeah.
a Target, you know.
Yeah.
So at basically a end aisle display thing, I would guess. That's a good point.
Yeah, you're talking about the AFOL designer program, and it made me think of Boone, which made me think of Lego Masters. That happened this year, right? 2020 was the first year Lego Masters was in the U.S., and we're experiencing now that kind of wave of messages from these.
Recruiters.
I think it's basically ended. It must be locked in.
They must have found their contestant. I don't know when it's supposed to. Is it supposed to be early 2022 or end of 2021?
It's early
Season two?
2021. It's very soon.
Oh, really?
It's 6 weeks long.
I mean, that's when we're filming, but when are they releasing?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
When are they
Well, no,
releasing? So-
Did they film them at a radically different time with the 2021? I thought it was.
With the,
I don't know what the turnaround time is.
I thought it was the turnaround time was like a week, maybe less.
they filmed them in the fall of 2019.
Oh, that's true.
I don't remember when they aired on TV exactly.
But I think that was a cool thing for the Lego
Yeah.
community. I think it brought a lot of fans in. I feel like if we had conventions this year, they would have been a lot more crowded because we saw that with the Lego movie when that came
Lego
out.
Masters was a huge thing at Bricks Cascade. The one convention that did happen
Yeah.
this year, they had, I think, 7 of the contestants maybe there. They had a decent number of contestants there, and it definitely attracted a lot of people.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you notice like a boost in attendance? From
Yeah,
the
it was
usual-
it was by far their most attended convention, which I mean, I think in general they were probably seeing an upward trend over the
Sure.
years, but yeah, I think Lego Masters definitely had something to do with it.
Well, they've been seeing an upward trend over the years, but that has not been consistent for Lego conventions,
For other conventions,
over the last
yes.
probably
Yeah,
10 years.
very true.
It has seemed pretty. It has seemed pretty grim multiple years in a row, especially at different conventions. Like I don't actually want to like point out any specific names.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, some like one of the ones that I went to many years in a row seemed like it basically almost closed. I don't know if that was their fault or it was like I felt like more it was like a downward trend in terms of interest in Lego amongst like very casual fans.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see with like Corona, right? A lot of these conventions now have these virtual formats, and it's like, do some conventions see that, oh, like this is way more profitable than what we were doing before? Like we're just going to continue doing virtual even when we're allowed to open back up. Like it'll be interesting what Lego conventions are like once the big Rona is
or
over.
they might even open up, but then continue to do virtual on the side.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I just can't see how like a virtual convention is like even fun enough to be worth the hours that you're there.
Yeah.
Like I still don't. I've heard. I mean, like I feel like some people have said that it was like kind of fun, but it is, of course, for obvious reasons, by no means a substitute.
But these are all people that are Lego builders you're talking to, right? It'd be interesting to talk to someone in the general public who would pay to go to Brickworld or Brick for whatever as just a general public person on a Saturday. Like if they get a lot out of these virtual ones,
I think they would get way more out of it than like an actual like because I think Lego fans like us go to conventions to meet other Lego fans. That's really the only reason I go. That's not really why the public. That's not why people go on like a Saturday afternoon. It seems really, really hard to meet somebody in like a 3-hour Zoom call with a bunch of other people. At best, you like basically get a surface level interaction of like, hey, how's your day? Oh, good, cool, good. Is that what you built? No.
your mic's muted.
You're breaking up. I'm kidding. I just want to leave.
Oh man.
We're now going to put you into breakout rooms with completely random falls. Be friends.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't even know exactly what goes on at these virtual conventions. Like, I know there's some rooms where people have their build, and they're like sitting there with their camera, and they can talk and answer questions or whatever.
What do you guys think?
But like, I don't know. I think there's like some like talks, like some seminars or whatever. I'm not.
That's what makes that must make the most sense to me. Until that's like the best case scenario of a virtual convention, I think, is like the keynotes.
Yeah.
Except like YouTube videos exist, so
Yeah.
What's the point of paying? Like you're gonna pay money, which is fine. I think paying money for access to these things makes sense.
Yeah.
But
you
for
can
like
just
a lower quality like version of this like of this speech that
The only like, I guess, difference I can think of is that you can get like live feedback or whatever. I'm assuming from the builders, maybe you can ask them questions or something like that. But like, as far as a substitute for actual conventions, I don't see how it has much of a leg up on just like watching a normal YouTube video or something. Because I feel like there's such an appeal of seeing all those kind of builds like in person as just like a person of the general public.
Oh yeah.
That's just, and you can, I mean, because they see them online already. That's part of the thing, and being able to go and actually see them in real life is like the main reason they're there.
Do you think there's a lot of builds? Like obviously people follow like the brothers Brick blog and other Lego blogs and Instagram accounts that post these builds. But a lot of times this is what I'm asking actually. If you go to a convention, you might see a build that you've never seen before. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. Like I would have never found this online. Does that happen for you? Do you think we missed out on that this year? Or do you think that it's too easy to find these things online now that like it would be irrelevant to be like, oh man, not seeing it in person like made me miss this build. This really cool build.
I think if I wasn't addicted to the internet,
It's hard to say too, because it's like there's definitely some builds that I see in person at convention. I'm like, oh, this is so dope, and then like a month later, maybe they posted it online. So like, there's
Gotcha.
the first like I'm not exactly sure how many I actually see and then never see online versus I might first see it, but then later on I see it.
And what you're describing is what we did for Last Ropes, right? The premiere was at Brickworld Chicago, and then a week later it was released online. So people had that like early access look. But
Well, and also I feel like a lot of times at conventions there are a lot of big displays that like a lug may put on or something, or a group of people
Very true.
that will obviously never see the light of day or maybe not even exist if it weren't for the convention. And and it just doesn't have the same appeal as online. You have something like the GBC even, which obviously is not
Like-
translatable.
Yeah.
Imagine if Corona had been in 2019 and Wastrobe. What would we have done for Wastrobes?
That wouldn't have really. I feel like because the collab was structured in such a way.
Anders never would finish his build. Though.
Yeah. That wouldn't have been too big of a wrench in things, I don't think. It would have just
I
been a
don't
matter of
know.
like getting people to take good pictures of their builds.
Yeah.
But like the Eurobricks collabs,
Yeah.
where they're like
Yeah.
actually all like building stuff that goes
Yeah,
together.
that potion shop they made,
Yeah.
like that
I'm
was
still-
sick.
There's so many builds. Like at a build at a certain scale, because Lego pieces are all the same size, but builds change in size. A build at a certain scale just can't really be understood in a JPEG. You
Yeah.
have to see it in person.
Yeah.
So, with conventions canceled, what were your favorite builds this year you saw online? Or some of the favorite builds?
I
It doesn't have
liked,
to be your
uh,
favorite.
Was it Ryan Howder that?
Yeah.
Spirited Away
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
It was like the Red Gate or something.
He said he'd worked like a year on it or something crazy like that, and it was all over Instagram a few weeks ago. But I really like that one. I don't know if that was even last year or not. It might have been.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite builds of the year. I think the Tutankhamun mask won like
Yeah.
build of the year for the Brothers Brick. That was pretty good. I might be a little biased, but I also really like this build called Painted City.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that one
Print
too.
Eli.
So you like your own build?
Yep.
No, yeah. Painted City would be a good choice.
Yeah.
I'd probably say the most recent Nick Trotta Starfighter. I think that's my favorite of all of his. That's my pick.
What else? Oh, what was it? Rocco made that.
I was just gonna say.
Oh.
I was
Rocco
gonna,
made a couple.
I was
big
gonna.
ones.
Yeah, Rocco did a bunch this year, but most recently was Vatican City.
Yeah.
And that's what I was gonna say because that I've been in the Vatican twice and just seeing it, the first time an entire country has been built in Lego is just like so
Insane,
cool.
dude.
But I mean, nothing compares to the stuff Rocco does in terms of micro scales.
Oh yeah. He's in his own league there.
Well, this is okay. Here's a topic that I was talking to about Micah earlier. I was basically saying that this is not inherently what everybody should want to do, but if it is what you want to do, if you want to be known as the absolute best at a certain type of build, you have to focus on something very specific. You can't like take up little random challenges throughout the year and like willy-nilly kind of build whatever you want. If that is the way that you want, if you just want to, and doing that is totally valid, right? Like building just what you want and kind of getting good at everything is totally valid. But that is not, you will never be the absolute best at a particular thing. You will never be like known as, like Rocco solidified himself as just in a completely different league in terms of building micro scale architecture. There's nobody that's even like, the second place is so far down that it's really not even fair. Same thing applies to Nick Trotta. There's not a single person that is kind of even near the same league in terms of building like Vic Viper Starfighters because he is intently focused on making only those.
I mean,
for multiple
I feel
years.
like I have seen other Vic Vipers that are at least close to Nick's level, but it's like the person who built it only built 1 or 2 Vic Vipers. Like they don't build as many as he is, so they don't become as well known. But like if I look at Nick Voss has a really nice Vic Viper or Starfighter at least that I like, and maybe it's not quite Nick Trotta level, but I'd say it's pretty close. But since Nick Voss only really has 1 really solid Starfighter, he's not really known for it.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna. No,
Here's some hot takes here.
I haven't seen one that is like half as good, yet. And half as good say for example the most recent Nick Trotta Starfighter is exceptional.
Yeah, let's look.
But yeah, no, I'm gonna need to see some examples here. Like I don't want to. The reason I don't want to target anybody. I don't want you to bring up a specific build because then I'm gonna have to be like, that is half as good as this other build. It's a F. If this is graded on a curve, he's completely screwed. But
I think Spencer might be biased too.
But
here.
Nick Voss, Who makes the best like mixed system and Bionicle builds? He's got it on lock.
I gotta find his build first.
Do you think this type of person, that the GOAT, the greatest of all time in their specific field, exists for Lego Star Wars? Do you think there's a builder out
Me.
there? Of course I know him. It's me.
There's no one that comes to mind, and I don't
Luca.
think it's even possible because of how saturated it is. With Rocco's case, I'm not even familiar with too many other builders who,
Everyone else just gave up.
who only do architecture. I feel like it's such a niche thing that it allows them to really run away with it.
It's kind of you gotta like break it up a little bit in terms of Lego Star Wars.
Yeah, well, it's
You'd
so
be like
broad,
Star Wars
too.
Starfighters.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Well, as we were
vignettes.
talking about, like in third, his starfighters are consistently, really good. Whoever does, I don't know who does the brick vault ones, but those are all
A lot of
pretty
those
good.
are David Buckles.
Dave Customs, yeah.
He's very
That's his
very
Instagram
very
handle.
very
Yeah.
talented at making those types of models.
But then when we're talking about as far as like dioramas go, Luca he's pretty up there as far as consistently making like high quality detailed ones, and a lot of them too.
Mm-hmm.
Talked about volume earlier.
Yeah, I mean, if you want some inspiration, go look at Luca like 1 year ago, and then look at him 2 years ago, and then look at him 3 years ago. And that's like a long period of time. It's really not that long of a period of time. If you want it, like of realistically becoming exceptionally good at building, if you're able to dedicate like a couple hours a week to it,
And Luca won Builder of the Year, right? Was it Tips and Bricks?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Eli won on Brothers Brick.
Yeah.
2 RebelLUG members.
I don't know how you
Cha-ching.
can zoom in, but that's the build I was.
And Tips and Bricks has 80,000 followers on Instagram, by the way. So that's like that's their audience.
Spencer,
I think Spencer just really
Please
like
show it to the class.
he really like Nick Voss's. No, sorry, he really like Nick Trotta's aesthetic and style. So this is not Trotta's style. This is not Trotta's style, but I think it is just as good.
He would never use the wedge plates like that. I don't think he'd ever have what's going on here behind the cockpit. It's not. And that could, and because I'm so.
style is just as good though.
You think that's if he posted that tomorrow?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
It's not close.
50%.
Trotta's everything like connects at like some sort of angle, basically, right? Usually with
The
Trotta's.
pieces play to him.
Yeah.
We were talking about 2020 things, and I just happened to peek at Drew's Instagram or whatever he's on, and there was one of those. How do you say tensegrity or whatever structures?
Oh yeah.
Remember when that happened this year? Well, that was this year, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
last
that
year,
was
2020.
the slave.
Yeah,
line
that's
there.
what I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that one.
that was a cool one, but like everyone.
It was so forced at points. People were making whatever they wanted and turning it into one of those things. And
Other than that, though, I don't know if there are any other real like trends this year with like something like that where it's like everyone just drops everything and does this build like real quick.
I mean, there's probably a trend of using 501st figures or something to a degree, but
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else like that. One thing that was a highlight for me in 2020 was the return of Iron Builder. Was that in 2020 or was that at the end of 2019? I don't actually remember.
You want to kind of expand on what that all entails?
So Iron Builder is one of the most legendary Lego competitions out there. It dates back, I don't know how long, probably like 2010 at least, probably before that.
Wow.
I don't know. It was initially led by Nanon and Guy, and so they ran it for quite a while, and then they passed it on to, I think, Tyler and Sean Mayo, Tyler Kleitz, but they never ended up actually doing anything with it. And then they passed it on to Simon Liu and Marcus Robluer, and they just totally revamped the competition in an amazing way. So the idea is there's two builders pit up against each other. They have a seed part, and they pump out as many builds as they can in a certain time period. It used to actually be more intense. It was about a month long. Now it's only 2 weeks, and they only judge the top 7 builds. So you really have to do 7 builds. If you want, you can do more, and it'll probably help you as far as like which judges like which builds and whatnot, picking their top 7. But it's just a super hype contest, and they've revamped it in so many different ways. Before it was just on Flickr. Now it's got its own website. It's got a huge Discord server. It's got an Instagram account. And then they've also got something they introduced called the Iron Forge, where it's a way for people to get into Iron Builder and compete in it, where they have different rounds with different seed parts, and you're paired up against each other until you get to the top of the forge, and then you go into the Iron Builder arena to compete in that.
Yeah, I think that's actually going on right now. I suppose by the time this video comes out, it's probably too late. It'll still be happening so you can watch it, but the first round might already be coming to a close. The first round of the Iron Forge is coming to a close. So the top builders from that will be selected to move on to the next level. And I guess it'll probably actually end up coming back next year, because I think the first Iron Forge happened a year ago in that case. But iron.builders is the website. It's actually
Such a
really
cool
it's a
domain.
really cool website, actually. It's really well done. Really.
Yeah, and I've been super impressed with how many entries the Forge has gotten. Like, I don't know how many there've been. I would guess at least 75 though. Just in round 1, and that's getting narrowed down
with the
there.
torso one right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Because I mean, look, if you want to get good at building, you got to do things like this all the time. Or you got to do these types of things at least.
But Spencer, I thought you said not to do any challenges and just focus on.
Well,
one
you
type
know,
of
if you
build.
want to, like, you gotta start somewhere. Like, if you want to
Inconsistent advice.
Yeah, I guess actually, okay. I'm referring to 2 different.
If you want to
things
be
I
a
didn't
generally
realize.
good builder, not if you just want to specialize in one thing.
Yeah. If you want to be the absolute best at something, you got to focus. But if you want to be like Tyler Kleitz or like
Jonas,
or like, you know,
Or like
you need the time restriction. It's a huge one. Time and part restriction.
Well, I think a good kind of wrap-up topic would be, since we're now in 2021, what are your plans for this year? Do you got any builds that you're willing to share? Any other Lego plans? Maybe some big life events that you foresee happening that are going to affect your Lego hobby?
Divorce.
I'm probably going to be graduating at the end of 2021, so that'll probably affect something somehow. I don't know exactly how it's going to work and how it's going to affect my life.
You have any big build plans in the works or collabs? Anything?
I have a lot of build ideas, but nothing really in the works. I have to finish trophies for Space Jam, which is a contest I'm running right now.
You want to talk about that?
Sure. So it runs until the end of January. Sci-fi contest, 6 different categories. So like one is 12 by 12 vignette, bounty hunter spaceship, space travel poster. So there's just various different categories like that. We have set prizes for each category, and then we also have brick built trophies, and I have to build some of those trophies. So there's a lot of things as far as build ideas and these trophies and whatnot that I've kind of been pushing off until after we finish sorting lug bulk. So now we've actually finished sorting lug bulk. I have another like week before school starts, so hopefully in the next week I'm gonna pump out those trophies, and then maybe I can even start a build. We'll see.
What you mentioned this idea, you have all these ideas, but no builds yet. How do you kind of pick one of these ideas and roll with it?
That's a good question. There's a lot of different factors. So like, if there's something I'm doing with other people, obviously that's get prioritized. Or if there's something I think would be especially good at a convention, I'll try and get it done for that convention. I feel like I lost a lot of motivation to build this year, actually, because there weren't conventions. Usually I'm like, oh, I'm going to build this for Brickworld. I'm going to display it at Brickworld. And this year was just like, nope. This summer, I also had a internship with Build Better Bricks where I was designing custom Lego sets. So I spent a lot of time doing that, but that didn't actually like go on my Flickr, so it doesn't look like I built very much, but I built more than it looks like.
Are you allowed to say which ones you designed?
Yeah, I don't know. So most of it,
Sure.
but I was just doing a lot of like real small little builds. So like they had some different summer themed builds, 4th of July themed builds, Halloween themed builds. So I did those. They were pretty restricted as far as like around 30 parts. They can't be like too hard to get. And so these were builds that the brick show would actually buy the parts for and make little kits out of. And they would sell them on their website. They would sell them at Bricks and Minifigs stores, stuff like that. I didn't actually do any of the like more intense instruction models on the Build Bear Bricks website. I did a basketball arcade game that's on the Brick Show website. And I started on a more intense like instructions for a Lego Birds themed set, but I never finished it.
So sad.
I may or may not finish that at some point, and that might end up on Build Bear Bricks, or maybe it'll end up on the RebelLUG store. I don't know. We'll see.
Whoa, we're stealing talent.
Since what about you?
It's poaching.
What are you working on this year? Getting more helmets, spaceships.
Spaceship, yeah. Starship specifically.
Ooh.
I want to make one of my current whip, which is sort of a problematic build because the real life version keeps shifting. I want to make the SpaceX Starship scale of Saturn V with the super heavy booster, and then I also, if somebody's listening that knows how to do this, I want to like electroplate my pieces, which is like how chrome plated pieces are done. You like treat the plastic so that it can actually be electroplated, because you need like a metallic substance to electroplate, and then you can electroplate it with like, you know, whatever nickel or whatever you're gonna do to make chrome. I want to do that because I can't buy like, you know, 2,000 chrome pieces or something.
I mean, you can.
Well, maybe get it a sponsorship, you know, something like that.
Just build it as a digital build. You know, then
But if somebody has any ideas on DIY, if somebody's like Walter White and knows some DIY chemistry, but wants to apply it to Lego pieces, let me know. Give me some suggestions. Yeah, and then the other thing, I guess, like I just want to sort of find a better way to like put a low amount of time into Lego, but a consistent amount of time, which accumulates to a lot of time. Like 3 hours a week or an hour a day or something like that. Probably even less than an hour a day over time. But I think if you can go hard during that hour a day or 4 hours a week or something, could do more than I'm doing now.
Yeah, that was something we were talking about the other day of some of the most consistent builders. That's the key, is they just have these time slots during the week, even if they're not long, but they consistently have this designated build time. And that's really how they are able to pump out these things and get better and better.
yeah, Joe builds stupid fast, and he says he pretty much just builds 2 nights a week. So he's like, Tuesday night, Thursday night, I got about 3 hours, and that's the building he does. And he builds like one every other week or something.
He seems like somebody who, when a piece goes down, that's final. Not always. He does seem to make changes, but he doesn't mess around very much. Same thing with Luca. Like we spent a few minutes, more than a few minutes earlier, analyzing some of Luca's time lapses to try and figure out, are these in reverse or are these in real time? I think some of his best builds are in real time, and like 95% of the pieces he places are final,
which is crazy.
which is insane. Some of the other ones do seem like they're reversed. But I don't know. Study those time lapses.
Yeah,
those are insane.
when we asked him about it, he said he can't tell, but it's a mix of both. And we don't know if that means in the same video a mix of both, or sometimes it's all reversed, sometimes it's not.
I think a minority of them are reversed. I think almost all of them are true. You're watching somebody build it time lapse, which is insane.
The weird thing we noticed is he's always sitting on the floor, which is not the best place to be building, I don't think. And you can never see the parts that he's either taking off or putting on. It's always off camera. So
I got an explanation for that. I look, the first reason he's on the floor. Well, he's actually not always on the floor. He's where he's taking the picture. Takes the picture on the floor, and if it's a small build, he takes it on the backdrop. Mm-hmm. The other one is Luca's super classy. So he doesn't want pieces cluttering up his frame, so they stay outside the frame.
This is why he has 50,000 subscribers.
Yeah, this is.
If you have pieces there, 5,000.
All right, Drew.
So I've been particularly lacking in motivation or inspiration for building the last few years. I'm
Few
but
years.
few years, yeah. But
Are you still in RebelLUG?
yeah, see, I stay immersed in the community, but I just don't feel like I'm obligated to build stuff, which I guess is good. It's like don't build something unless you actually want to, right? But I always make time for whatever the collaboration is at Brickworld each year, and especially because that's when like I don't have to try to make time with school and stuff because it's the summer at that point. Obviously, it got canceled this year, and here's hoping something happens this year, but probably not. So yeah, that's pretty much that. But especially this semester, I'm taking like more classes than I usually would be, so that's even less time if I wanted to build something. But yeah, I mean, Brick World and RebelLUG in general is basically what keeps me involved in building it all. So yeah, that's basically it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this year. I graduate in May. I'm hoping to have regular access then to my Lego after that because I have very little. This semester I have very little Lego here. Last semester I had no Lego here. It's just frustrating because I have so many pieces back home and I have so many things I want to build and I have all the motivation I need. Like when I'm at home with my collection, I build a ton. But just being away from it, it's like, oh, I just want this Lego with me. So I'm looking forward to graduating, being with my Lego, and I'm gonna try to pump out some builds this semester with the little tub that I brought. So we'll see what happens.
And that might be something too. It makes you appreciate being around your collection more, and might make you
sure.
more likely to do something with it if you're away from it for that long.
So great things to come this year for all of us. Sounds like.
Yeah, I'm a commuter student, so I got my collection with me the whole time, but you wouldn't guess that from the way I build. I don't think I really posted anything other than the Space Jam announcement and a couple builds during the summer. But we're gonna try and change that this year.
There we go. New Year's resolution.
That's right.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks for making the trip here to start LUG Book. It's been a blast. For you guys watching, we have two videos on the RebelLUG YouTube channel regarding our LUG Bulk sort. So if you're interested in what that entails, you can check out those videos. Any final comments you'd like to mention? Mountain Dew quotes? I don't know.
Be on the lookout for more shirtless Woody builds coming your way. If you want that like 1.5 foot model that I mentioned earlier, there are instructions for it on the RebelLUG instruction store. You can build your own shirtless Woody. I think he might be like over 1,000 pieces. I don't know. It's pretty intense.
It's ridiculous. I think the instructions are 8 hours though. So if you are interested, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You could set them up in your living room.
It's a good centerpiece on your table.
You could
It'd be like an elf on the shelf situation with your kids.
put them in the family
Sure.
photo.
Yeah, I took a black and white photography class this past semester, and like we have a dark room on campus. I can make like nice prints of pictures. I was planning on doing some shirtless Woody ones. Haven't yet, but
Looking forward to it.
yeah, for your birthday or something, you might just get a shirtless Woody print in the mail, Danny.
I sure hope so. Cool. I guess just the last thing is, if you are looking for a build challenge, we mentioned Iron Forge and all that stuff, but RebelLUG has its own build challenge every single month. The third Saturday is the 2-hour build challenge in the RebelLUG Discord server, open to everybody, and there are really cool prizes. It's shopping sprees at Lego Shop-A-Home, and the shopping sprees, the amount of the prizes increases the more people that participate. So, cool. Yeah, if you're down in the RebelLUG Discord server, join up there, subscribe to the RebelLUG YouTube channel, check out everyone's social medias and the RebelLUG social media and everything. Wonderful. Cool. Thanks everyone for watching.